So that's extinction burst. So in order to figure out the type of consequence maintaining a problem behavior, you have to ask yourself, when you're looking at problem behavior, now back to our functional assessment, was something being added? Are they getting something? Was something being subtracted or withheld? Is this actually, are we seeing some extinction or recovery after punishment? And is behavior going up or down? So add or take away, up or down? Those are the two questions to ask to determine positive or negative reinforcement or punishment. So now we're going to do a bit of an activity. And I'm going to do some over practice here. We're going to do a bunch of these together. So individually or with your seatmate, analyze these. And there's a little timer at the bottom to give you time to do this. During story time in the library, Jason makes noises. The teacher sends Jason to sit in the hallway. Jason makes noises more often in the future. So you have to be asking yourself, was there an add or a takeaway? Did behavior go up or down? Well, it's given to you. Jason makes noises more often in the future. Behavior is going up, so you've got a reinforcement effect. Is it positive or negative? Is there an add or a takeaway? You've got negative reinforcement, right? Behavior is going up so that you know you have an increase over time. That's a reinforcement effect. And there's a removal of story time. Story time was there, and then there's no more story time. That's a takeaway. So that's negative reinforcement. During story time in the library, Jason makes noises. The teacher sends Jason to sit in the hallway. Jason does not make noises during story time in the future. Did it go up or down? Oh, it went down. So you have punishment. Now the next part of the equation to figure out was there an add or a takeaway to know if this is positive or negative punishment. Negative punishment. Behavior went down because something was removed, negative punishment. The next one. You see that the vignettes are in your handout and you have to write down the answer, right? During story time in the library, Jason makes noises. Each time Jason makes noises, the other students laugh and the teacher asks him to be quiet. Jason makes noises more often in the future. So you've got behavior going up. That can only mean reinforcement. What's the source of reinforcement? Was there an add or a takeaway? Turns out that there were a few adds in this case, right? The peers were providing attention. The teacher was providing attention. Those are the reinforcers. So you have positive reinforcement. Right? The teacher doesn't think that the reprimand is positive reinforcement. The intent is positive punishment. The friends don't necessarily think that they're making it worse, but they're making it worse. The addition of peer and teacher attention and an increase, you got positive reinforcement. Next one, in the past, Jason was sent, so in the past, remember that's a key phrase here, it's implying some history. Jason was sent to the hall whenever he made noises during class. Today, the teacher actively ignores Jason's noises and does not send him to the hall. Over the course of the day, Jason's noise making is reduced significantly. We have extinction. Why? Previously available reinforcer, which is being sent to the hall, which is actually reinforcing him, is now withheld. It's no longer forthcoming. He's not sent to the hall, so there's no payoff, right? This is what the problem behavior is eating. It's no longer being fed. It stops. In the past, Jason was assigned extra work whenever he hit a peer. As a result, Jason hasn't hit a peer in months. Today, a substitute teacher was in the classroom. Jason hit a peer, but was not assigned extra work because the substitute didn't know to do that. Remember, punishment is person and place specific. Over the course of the day, Jason was hitting peers more often. Recovery after punishment, because the vignette says he was being effectively punished, but the substitute was not delivering the punisher, and so the behavior recovered because of the absence of that program consequence. During story time in the library, Jason makes noises. The teacher sends Jason to sit in the hallway. With Jason out of the library, the teacher completes story time uninterrupted. Over time, the teacher sends Jason into the hallway more and more often when he makes noises in the library. Think about it from the teacher's perspective here. The teacher is sending him out more and more often, which means you have punishment or reinforcement. You've got reinforcement because your behavior is increasing. Took away that annoyance, that disruption to my class, so you've got negative reinforcement. It's maintaining the teacher's behavior. And this is a very naturally occurring phenomenon. In a class of 30 students, when the teacher asks Sophie a question, Sophie swears at the teacher, Over time, the teacher asks Sophie questions less and less often. So we're talking about the teacher's behavior here. Teacher's behavior is in the behavior box. The consequence is the student swears. Do we have punishment or reinforcement? We've got punishment, right? Teacher's behavior response has been punished because she's doing it less often. It's being suppressed by punishment. You've got an add, positive punishment, right? The student wasn't swearing at me until I did this, right? Positive punishment. When Sophie is off task, the teacher politely asks her to pay attention to class instruction, and she complies. Over time, when any student in her classroom is off task, more often than before, the teacher politely asks them to pay attention. We're talking about the teacher's behavior. Teacher's behavior is increasing, so we have reinforcement. Was there an add or a takeaway? The student added their compliance, they added their cooperation, they did what they were asked, right? So the teacher has now been, this is a very nice example, right? This is what you'd expect. There's no curveballs on this one. The teacher is being reinforced by her students for being kind and polite to her students. How nice is this? In September, when Sophie was off task, the teacher asked her to pay attention to class instruction, and she would often comply. This follows on the heels of the last one. In November, when the teacher asks Sophie to pay attention to her instruction, Sophie consistently ignores the teacher and continues to engage in off-task behavior. Over time, the teacher asks Sophie to pay attention to class instruction less and less often. So we're talking about the teacher's behavior here of asking Sophie to comply. The giveaway here is that the vignette makes a big deal about what was happening before and what's happening now, which should have you looking over to the far side of that table of 6 consequences. Extinction, right? Her cooperation was reinforced, right? Her cooperation was reinforcing to the teacher, but that's no longer happening. So the reinforcer is no longer being delivered, and the teacher will stop engaging in a response that was previously reinforced. A new teacher, during her first school term, leaves her cell phone on her desk or on a student's desk during class instruction. On the first occasion, apparently a student took it and she never got it back. On the second occasion, with a new cell phone, the same event occurred. It was taken. After the second occasion, the teacher never again left her cell phone on her desk or on a student's desk for the rest of the school year. So we're talking about the teacher's behavior of leaving cell phones out. We have punishment. Was it positive or negative? Negative because there was a takeaway. What was taken away? Yeah, she lost her cell phones. Her cell phones were subtracted from her life. Pretty aversive consequence. Negative punishment. After not leaving her cell phone out for students, now following from the last one, and having a summer off of school, the teacher returned for her second year. For the first month, she never left her phone on her desk or student's desk. Because remember, that behavior had been shaped by punishment last year. However, in October, she again began leaving her cell phone out on her desk or student's desk about once a week. What explains, which of the 6 principles we've covered explains this? Yeah, recovery after punishment. She had been punished, but then some time went by, summer went by, back to school. What happens is we become complacent. Right? It's like, you know, on Boundary Road where it comes down to Marine, there's the hill. It's the only place in my life I've ever had a speeding ticket. And they get you there because you tend to go fast down that hill. And for a period of time, like a year or two, I drove like I was taking my driver's test in that neighborhood, right? Because I'd been punished there. And after multiple times down that hill, I didn't see any more police officers. I was never pulled over again. And then slowly, my punished behavior started to go away, and I started speeding down that hill again. Right? And now I catch myself. Right? Stop, slow down. But that's recovery after punishment. I found myself experiencing that. A teacher asks the principal if she could arrange for the teaching assistant to attend a weekly morning meeting to participate in ongoing monitoring of the PBS plan. The principal gave into this request or allowed this request. As a result, the plan was implemented with high fidelity and had positive results. The parents of the student sent the principal an email message saying how happy they were with the outcomes. Across the next 2 school years, when a teacher asked the principal to accommodate a teaching assistant's participation in these meetings, the principal regularly agreed to let the teaching assistants attend these meetings. So doing more of it, it's reinforcement. Was it positive or negative? It was positive, right? We like getting praise. Administrators in particular, I'm sure, like getting positive emails in their inboxes instead of not so positive emails, right? And so the parent is catching flies with honey. The parent is probably more likely to have her requests granted because she's using positive reinforcement with staff. When Nathan engages in defiance in the classroom, teachers regularly send him to the principal's office. When Nathan swears at the principal, he's suspended from 1 to 3 days. When Nathan is not in school, the principal has a relatively stress-free day. Over time, when Nathan is sent to the office for defiance in the classroom, the principal suspends him from school more and more often, even if he hadn't sworn at the principal in that particular instance. So what's happening to the principal's behavior here? It's going up. Is there an add or a takeaway for him? The annoying student's behavior is taken away, right? Or the student's annoying behavior is removed. So the principal's been negatively reinforced. He's escaping from a problem by suspending a student. And he's got a few days of peace before it happens again. And again, this seems appropriate in the moment, but if the student keeps being suspended, then this consequence is not an educative consequence. He's not learning from it. And to boot, he's been not allowed to participate in thousands of learn units. And a student experiencing this is going to fall increasingly behind. The principal has a habit of leaving his office door open. This one might be flipped. So look at the one after it. The principal has a habit of leaving his office door open. Across the course of the first school term, an umbrella, a leather jacket, and an iPad go missing. After these events, for the rest of the school year, the principal never leaves his door open or unlocked when he's not in his office. The leaving the door open or unlocked, behavior goes down, right? So you have a punishment effect, right? Behavior is being suppressed. He's no longer leaving it unlocked. That's the punishment part. And the negative is, it's because he had things subtracted from his environment if he left it open, right? Theft occurred, and that's negative punishment. Ever had your car broken into? Terrible experience. I had my windows smashed and grabbed some meaningless stuff out of it. Not a big deal, but didn't like that happened. So I didn't leave my car in that spot for the longest period of time because I found that very punishing. Then over time, I found myself parking there again because it was kind of a one-off experience, recovery after punishment. After not leaving his office door open during the remainder of the previous school year, and with no students in the building over the summer, the principal embarks on a new school year. For the first month, he never leaves his door open. However, in October, he's doing it again because we've got recovery after punishment, right? He hadn't experienced the punishing effect for a period of time. You become complacent, you stop following through with the procedure, and the behavior creeps back in. A principal who's been accommodating team meetings to include teaching assistants for some time no longer receives any positive feedback from the teachers or the parents for being so generous. Over time, the principal accommodates fewer and fewer requests for teaching assistant participation at team meetings. What's happening here? Behavior is going down, which might make you think that he's being punished, but the vignette's telling you that he has a history of reinforcement, right? He was receiving praise from teachers and others for allowing this, and over time they're not delivering those reinforcers anymore. So when you sever the reinforcer relationship, you stop feeding it, the reinforcers, you wind up with extinction. Extinction means I put the behavior on a diet. Previously available reinforcer withheld, and he stops. One more of these. As I warned you at the beginning, this is over practice, because these can be difficult concepts, right? It takes some time to really think through the steps here. The principal regularly suspends Nathan when he swears at her. Nathan's parents write a scathing email to the principal and CC the superintendent. The principal never suspends Nathan again. So the behavior in question of suspending goes down. So we know automatically that tells you you've got a punishment effect. The behavior, the administrator's behavior of suspension has been punished. Was it an add or a takeaway? It was an ad. It was the email. It was the superintendent being involved, right? All of the stress was added into his life as a result. So you've got positive punishment. Was that the intent of the parent's scathing email? Probably, right? They didn't want this to happen to their kid again, right? Whether it's right or wrong what they did, or we don't know what the circumstances are, that's the effective behavior.